Nyajan, welcome to Genik Show. If you guys haven't joined me live on Facebook, come and join me. That's KBIF 900 AM Hmong Radio. I have a guest on the line, so you guys are going to be talking. We're going to be talking about hot topic today on solar. So come and join us live on Facebook, KBIF 900 AM Hmong Radio. If you don't have Facebook, you can tune in through our website, 900mhongradio.com, or download the app AM 900 KBIF. We also have a hotline number that you can use. That number is 641-793-8287, 641-793-8287. Phone rates do apply if you do use the hotline number. Today is Tautotu. Falls on July the 18th, 2023. Time is 4:02 p.m. If you are tuning in through our Facebook, please do say hello so I can recognize you. I only see numbers of views. I don't see who is on. Again, if you guys are on Facebook, do say hello. If this is your first time tuning in with me, then this is a show that I do both Hmong and I do English. So I do Hmonglish. It's not just all in Hmong or all in English. I go back and forth because our audience is not just only Hmong listeners. We have audience of all sorts. This show is a very, very different show from all the other shows. We are open to taking calls. With this segment, if you want to call in, you can certainly do so. Our phone number here is 559-230-0900, 559-230-0900. You can also comment in the Facebook Live to engage with the hot topic today. Elvis?
I'm here.
Alrighty, so I have again Elvis, my friend elvisthao, on the line joining me today as we talk about solar because it is hot this week and it's a heat wave. So I was always thinking about like what happens in heat wave, what happens with electricity, what happens with all sorts of stuff, right? And what do we know about solar? Do we know enough? And if we know solar, if we have experience, what are the pros and cons of having solar? And so I have my friend Elvis to share about solar, and we're going to learn a little bit about it because I really don't know much about solar. I know my families have solar in their homes, and that's pretty much it. But solar itself, there's so much that goes into it. And again, I am always looking for content, resources to provide, to share, so we can continue to utilize the resources that we have and not say there's nothing to help us, right? So, Elvis, I'm going to have you go and start about solar because you know more about solar. So, I will chime in as we continue to talk about solar today. And again, anyone can join in the conversation. If you're live on Facebook, just put it in the comments. If you want to call in, by all means, call in and we can have this open conversation. This is an open conversation for everybody.
Well, first of all, I thought you knew a whole lot more than me, and I thought you were gonna steer the conversation, and I thought I was just chiming in.
I want you to talk about it because I know a little bit about
now the roles have reversed.
Sorry, Elvis, but yeah, you know, just because I feel like you can talk a little bit more about it and also introduce yourself, right? So some people may recognize your voice, but some people don't. So let's start with that, the self-introduction of who you are.
Yeah, well, and thank you for that. I think there's a major importance in this announcement, and that word is probably confusion and probably also acceptability. I come from the arts. Obviously, I've been in entertainment for over 20 years, so most of the people in the community know me as a musician, an actor, and you know, I've been thriving off of that for a long time, and I definitely built and garnered a name in that. You know, at this age, 20 years later, you know, things, you know, not so much come to an end, but you know, as things start to halt around you, you definitely have to find out other avenues. And I've been, you know, since obviously 2020, I've been dabbling more into entrepreneurship, and now, you know, I do lending and loans and all that kind of stuff for commercial and That's a different topic. If you're interested in that, you can message me. But today is about solar and renewable energy. I'm with a gigantic renewable energy company. And maybe one day we'll go more into all things renewable, but today we'll go into solar. So as I started investing, I bought ownership and a stake in this company, and eventually I have full access, and I've been to a lot of their conferences, and I'm with a great group of people. We're in 70 different countries worldwide, and so solar is still kind of new to me because I took on a lot of the other things in renewable energy, like electric vehicles, electric charging stations, and that seems to be more of my avenue. But again, we do all things renewable. Um, Solar panels, EV cars, EV chargers, water generators, electric generators, home energy savers, wind turbines, and the whole nine. So that's my new avenue that I've been doing as an entrepreneur. And it doesn't stop there. There's a lot of things that I'm doing. But so solar is actually, today's, like I said, it's a casual conversation. And we're just here to steer the conversation. As my company says, don't develop a habit of analysis paralysis. Just understand it the way you know, and understand that systems work a certain way. And we have departments that are more technical. And if you build the interest, if the people come, you can just send them out to the different sources that we have. So my job is to build the interest and understand the market. And so I'm more of a market specialist versus a technical specialist. So if you're asking me about kilowatts and how these things are designed and what they do, and I know my company to where I can get you the answers, but I don't have the answers to everything. So, and I'm only about 3-4 months in.
So this is still new for you, very new for you then.
Oh yeah, but like I said, with my support system, I mean, we're on Zooms 5 days a week, and we're and I'm learning every single day, and so yeah, I mean, this company is not short of knowledge or education. So I think solar is one thing. Renewable in general is not the necessity. Everyone, I think, by this time knows that it's necessary. I think with everything, if you don't know anything about it, it boils down your interest. So I think the more people are just educated about it, it would definitely raise their awareness. But I mean, I think by now a good population of the country or the world knows that we're going into renewable. They're just it's more of you're avoiding some because we're uncomfortable. We're uncomfortable with the topic, and so it's more of an avoidance than it is an interest. I think but once it becomes more aware, it'll build the interest, and so my job is to get us there early.
So with solar, do you have families and friends who have solar currently?
I only know one family here in California, and I know that they're really happy. I deal with more commercial solar. We're the first company to do solar skyscraper towers. So our solars go up to the sky. They're towers where we built them upwards. And why that is very important is because they save you land space. We can do in 5 acres what 50 acres can do. We can do in 10 acres probably what 100 acres can do. These aren't exact metrics, but I'm giving you an example.
Mm-hmm.
So, right, so now you don't have to lay them flat and buy all this particular space of land that is going to cost you millions. You can probably do that with a much smaller budget. And so and we're in the stock market. You can check Bloomberg, you can check Market Watch, you can check Silicon Valley Times. The last time I checked, maybe a month or two ago, we were at 88 cents a share. So this company is booming fast, and this invention is patented. I don't know for how long, but maybe at some point companies might start replicating us, but nobody else is doing this right now. So this is more of my thing, and but the family that I do know in California. I think it's a hard to sell in the Midwest because of the snow and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I do have some information on that as well. It's not as detrifying as most people think it is. Solar definitely still works well in snow, and will still give you your margins. But for me, I know the family. She showed me her bill. It was roughly about $600
wow.
a month, and it cut her down to half. Like, so she only paid a little less than $300 a month. And if you do the math, that's almost $4,000 a year.
Yes, absolutely.
And almost $40,000 in 10 years. So you can see what solar does. So now you can cut your electric company off maybe not entirely. You might want water and other amenities, but still, it cuts your bills off dramatically. Now you have some families that you know, right?
I
Do you
do.
have any idea what their bills are?
I don't know what the bills are. I know my parents' house, they have quite a bit of solar on the rooftop. My brother's house, which is like two doors down. And I have lots of friends who have solars. And I'm just in a condo right now, so I don't have solar. But I do see that there's so many panels out there. And so that's why I wanted to talk about the pros and cons of it. And a pro of it is definitely about the cost of the PG&E bill because such as the heat wave like now and your AC is running and I know the most I paid for PG&E with my condo is only 1400 square feet, okay, so it's pretty small. And just for a couple of days, I remember last year my bill went up to $400 and I'm not even home to use that much electricity. So when I thought about that, I was like, my goodness, this is for just a little tiny place. I'm only at home literally just to sleep. And that's it. But the amount of the AC that I had to turn on from the time I got home, I didn't get home until I'm at work until 6 o'clock. So by the time I get home, it's 7:30, right? And then turning that on just for a little bit and for a couple of days, I don't know how my PG&E went up from like $50, $100 to $400 where homes were not even paying that much and they have a lot more electricity that they're using. So that's why I wanted to talk about the solar because of the pros and cons that we see, where it's going to be going, and what is the importance of it and the disadvantage of it, right? And so, with you mentioning that the company that you guys are with, you guys are building the stand-up solar versus the flat solar, and I think that's pretty smart idea. Anyways, generally, it's pretty smart because when you think about apartments, you think that it's a high towers, right? Think about all the other countries; their apartments are not, just leveled. They're building upwards, sky rise. So to have solar going sky rise, that is definitely a smart move because I mean we're going sky rise, heat runs, right? So if the higher it goes, it's going to generate down. First, if you're in flat plane, now that's more for it to go down. I don't know again too much about solar, but I'm just thinking about the
Yes, yes,
systematic
and that
dynamic
definitely solves the
of
snow
it.
problems.
It changes
Right,
a lot.
right, and like I said, it definitely solves the snow problem because if it's flat, if it's flat versus going down, obviously, snow the impact of snow piling on it is very, very, minimal. So
Hmm.
you have to consider that as well. Yeah.
And then I think about the farmers, right? And I think about all kinds of stuff, and especially when with the heat
Oh,
like
yep, we're
this,
gonna go
right?
into that topic. We're gonna talk about you farmers,
Yeah, so
my
especially
marijuana growing
with
community.
the heat such as this, can you tell me the pros of it? Of besides the PG&E, what are the major pros of having solar?
Well, let me clarify one thing. With your family members and friends that you know, they all are happy with solar, correct? Or is there any ones that are upset?
I don't ask because I don't even
Oh,
want to
you
look at the
don't
phone.
know.
I
Okay.
do know. I know some people are happy, some people are not very happy, and
Okay.
especially with the fact that let's take when you have to clean your rooftop, right? And everything
Uh
gets
huh.
stuck under the solar. So now you have to go and it's hard to clean that. So you got that
Okay.
part as the negative because now the solar again it's laying flat. So how do you clean your gutters, right? And how do you
Okay.
clean this and how do you clean? So that's where the negative comes in because now it's
Okay.
blocking and so forth. But on the bright side, yes, there, it does minimize, but then you have to get a certain amount. And I know with some solar company, you have to buy a certain amount to have it installed. And then it goes like a third party and then it just goes on to a whole different mess. And I have friends and families who are okay or good with it and then some who are like I don't like solar at all because of the amount. Maybe it's the company and maybe how it's being ran or processed. So there's mixed emotions of it.
Okay. No, and that's good. I like that because I think that's the thing, with as consumers, it is our job to be our own responsibility over everything. And perhaps that, has to do with, your personal education, your research, or,
Mm-hmm.
your bargaining and what companies you went into and how do you build it. I look at solar like like a phone, right? Um, there's not one way to charge a phone or use a phone. We have wall chargers, we have car chargers, we have portable chargers, and we can use data and Wi-Fi. So With solar, there's backup batteries. There's so many ways to look at solar. Uh, you know, um, Off grid, etc. And so, to me, you have to really figure out, what's more important for you, and the battery configuration, DC and AC coupling, right? And so, the ground array, the roof array, things like that. And so, I think it's really, knowing what you're going to go for, and I'm definitely discussing that with your solar company to begin with. So I do get the complications that come with it, but I also think, with all things, as consumers, we need to know what we're getting, right? So sometimes it's not so much solar that fails us; it's our light that kind of fails the way we go about something. So, um, and I know we all want the easy route. We want something to solve our problems, but sometimes you definitely have to be your own problem solvers as well before going into anything. And this isn't just solar; this is in life in general. Um, but Going into the farmers, you know, I uh, I took a visit to Oklahoma about this is specifically marijuana farmers.
Okay.
I know there's crop farmers and all of that as well, but I because I haven't visited those areas, I don't really know necessarily
Okay.
how to answer their problems. But I know the marijuana grows in Oklahoma. I've heard some disturbing as far as logistics over there. I
Mm-hmm.
know some of them are buying up 10, 15, 20 acres of land, and they're only using 2, 3 acres. And I'm like, what are you doing with the,
The rest
you
of
know,
it. Yeah.
yeah, I think some people are trying to call in if you're taking
Nope.
calls
No
yet or
calls.
not. Okay. Um, and so, I get it. There are other creative ways. Like obviously doing crops. Raising animals and cattle. However, that takes more boots on the ground. That takes more hands. And so a lot of them are so busy with marijuana growing, they don't have enough hands to do the rest of that and handle all that inventory and workload and labor. And okay, understandable. So some of them asked, what are other resources that we can use? And so I went down there to try to teach solar to a couple families, and they're just unsure. But I'm like, no, this is something where you can just throw your money and invest. You really don't have to move a muscle besides maybe clean around it and just general maintenance every day, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, but and some of them are paying $10,000, $20,000 a month in electricity. Like, do you know that? Those are the numbers down there, and that is insane. So I'm like, imagine cutting off your electricity and going solar and saving that extra month. We were just talking about home saving 3,000 a year. These people can be saving
Much more.
like $100,000 a year, right? So like that is crazy. Like almost a million, like several $1 million in 10 years, right? So, and not only that, the solar goes, it could 60 miles away, and so, you have neighbors in your community that can generate electricity off of your solar as well, and that can generate you money and things of that nature. Um, Again, I don't know a whole lot, but the other thing I do want to go that after I left Oklahoma, I'm close to one of my buddies out there, and he told me about the extreme wind conditions that just happened maybe about a month ago, and how everybody's power went out, and how it affected the farms and people's plants and everything were ruined, and it really hurt their investments out there. And I was saying how solar can solve that problem. There's backup batteries. You can go off grid, on grid. You can do a lot of different things with solar. And instead of a lot of them are buying heavy generators and spending all this extra accumulative amount of money to try to save their energy. And that's just a lot of headache. And solar just simplifies everything. And so I don't know those exact comparisons and what those specs are, but I know same thing with Texas in 2021. They went through extreme freezing weather conditions that shut off a lot of people's electricity, and all the ones with the solar were the much more were much more comfortable, and got through that survival process a whole lot easier. And so solar just has a lot of different problems. To me, getting into renewable energy, I know entrepreneurs say don't invest with your emotions, because you always most of the time make the wrong investments.
Uh huh.
um, I think to me it was more, no one's ever said it can't be a spiritual investment, but for me, renewable comes from a more spiritual aspect. I don't know. There's something about ancient civilization and channeling ancestors, and I think about how a lot of them use electricity naturally and reflections from the sun, and how the pyramids and everything were built. And my attraction to renewable, I think about the word self-sustainability, and not having to depend, on corporations, things like that. And of course, you're getting your solar from a company, but still, the way you live is a kind of a more, I'm what I consider a sovereign, and I love my sovereignty. I don't like to, have to depend on outside sources and forces that, I have to owe my life to. So I look at a more self-sustainable, sovereign way of doing things, and renewable became that kind of decision for me that, hey, if we can do this ourselves, why be contained by all these outside solutions when we can sustain ourselves. And so I look at it more from a village or a community aspect of renewable energy, kind of sustaining people. And so we can help ourselves, right?
Hey, Elvis, I'm glad you mentioned that because I was actually talking to a friend a couple of days ago, and we were discussing about the different types of solars, right? And I said, we never know when we're going to get a heat wave. And imagine, and I know PG&E always talks about, reducing your electricity, reducing your usage so we don't have a power outage. Now, when there's a power outage, I mean, who knows how long it's going to go for? And now those who don't have backup generators, now they're pretty much screwed. And I think about those who have the electric cars, right? And if you have no source of energy and you have no backup generator, how are you going to charge your car, right? So
Right.
where do these? And then we went into solar, and I said, now if you had a solar, now that solar had already generated enough power to get you going, because that becomes your backup generator without you having to worry about an additional backup generator. Now, when we don't have that, and now we're not educating ourselves to learn something different, to learn something more for ourselves, especially because our world is evolving. We're evolving every single day. What do we
Exactly.
do when we have a major power outage? And especially
And that's the
with
thing.
the
Like,
fire,
people are
right?
still
We
asking.
get
Right.
fire
People.
in California all the time. And not just
Right.
fire right now, not just in California, but like in Canada, there's been this fire. So it's been going up to like the Midwest, right? So there's so many things that goes on. And these solars, now this is where the pro comes in for the solar that I see. When it becomes
Sure.
that storage, that source of storage, that's where you're not going to be worried about, again, charging your stuff, right? You're going to be able to do this. And then again, with the heat, you don't have to worry about having a heat stroke. But when you don't have that, now the stress comes in. How do I do this? How do I do it? And especially when you have children. Children, how are you going to keep them cool? And elders. Now look at all these hospitals. And I think about all these facilities that are not going to be able to care for people because they don't have something to keep their facility, their buildings, or so forth going. Imagine we had an extreme power outage in California.
Mm-hmm.
Boom. It's just like everything is gone. And sometimes I think when I watch movies, I do imagine that, like, boom, 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 right? The whole city just like shuts down. So what happens, right? Those who have a backup, they'll be okay. But those who have nothing, they're completely done until everything starts generating again. I'm going to read a few comments on Facebook. Marty Martin says, when you have no power, solar is a good backup, and that's why we supply these cities and countries with solar. Charlene Upton says, you go Elvis. Oh, Rob, quote unquote, in parentheses, Rob. So thank you guys for commenting on the Facebook Live. I truly appreciate it. But yeah, again, today's hot topic is about solar, the pros and cons of it. Do we know enough about it? And if we don't know enough about it, what are we going to do to get to know about it? And how do we find one that is going to best suit for us in our decisions? Now, with you, Elvis, when someone asks you that question, how is your guys' solar, different? How do we choose a solar company? What do we look for? how do you go about with answering that question? I mean, yes, you did say you'll have there's resource that you connect with, but immediately when someone asks that question to you, how do you know what kind of solar to pick? Where do you go from
Yeah,
there?
that's gonna be a tough question for me. I don't think I'm quite the expert qualified for that. I want to go back to what you were saying about powering vehicles, and I do want to say, a lot of people that are asking questions about like EV chargers and
Uh
things like
huh.
that and stations, they're asking questions from like 5, 10 years ago that are unrelative to today. Like you said, it's ever expanding. The industry is always finding ways where we're going to evolve, and these questions that are years old are being answered by the day,
Or being
and
surfaced now.
right, and so. How is the grid going to power the entire neighborhood if you get a charge at your home? Well, solar is that. Solar is that solution, right? Like where our company is building electric vehicle charging like infrastructure throughout the country now, where we have like EV gas stations just posted in the middle of the desert or something, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
it's not been done yet, so I don't know the exact locations, but what I'm saying is, well, actually, you can just purchase them and build them anywhere. That's you investors and you home builders and people, you can definitely invest in this company as well. Just keep in touch with me. But yeah, like like this, like the roofs and everything of those. Like the gas station canopies and things like that are definitely going to be installed with solar. So those will be running all day long off the solar grids, and you don't really have to worry about using the neighborhood grids in your communities, et cetera, and how and overpowering and shutting down and things like that. So um, it's changing the EV revolution as well, like majorly, right?
Oh,
Um,
yes.
yeah. So our company, yeah, I can only talk about the incentives that we have. I
Mm-hmm.
can't compare so much our actual panels and the power and things that we provide
That
versus
I'm not too worried about or with the
yeah.
question, but more so of when someone is looking for a solar, like say you, okay? If you
Hmm.
didn't know about your guys' company, then what are you looking for, right? So when you have these generalized questions for yourself, what do I look for? What am I looking for? How do I know this is going to best fit? Can you now answer in that way? If you're looking for solar, now this doesn't go into that. So for me, when I'm looking for solar, I'm looking for one that is going to be the most accurate and not taking space, right? Because
Yes.
I cannot stand when, for example, all these flat surface, right? Flat surface solar. And when I think about the airport itself, on the other side of the Clovis, right? You have all these solar panels, and I'm thinking, man, that's so much space, And I think
Exactly.
about your homes, okay? So if someone has a tiny home, right? So when you're looking at tiny homes, that's pretty much basically what, two or three. If you're looking at flat solars, you're looking around like three or four. But then if a company is only allowing, they have to say you have to get a minimum of at least 10 panels, right? These panels, I mean, if you're investing into tiny homes and that's what you're doing to help people, now you can't even do that. So, how does one find that solution? And I know you can't talk too much about it, but in your perspective, if you're looking for solar, would you be looking similar into in what I'm thinking about, like finding something that is not going to take the overall the flat surface of it, or and looking more for in a high rise, or how would you go about it? Because me, when I think about solar, I'm like, I don't want to waste space. I already have too much space that I don't have enough space, so I can't waste space, and I need to look for something more efficiently that's going to be reducing space, that's going to provide the best quality and the means of what I need for my necessity.
Yeah, and I think that's why I focus more companies and businesses and doing commercial. I wish I was a homeowner. I live in LA, so I'm single. I don't I don't need my own home out here with these houses in LA. And so, but I do know I will be talking to property owners more. I've actually been really trying hard to collaborate with more realtors
Mm-hmm.
because I do believe building renewable projects in homes will up will up properties, the value on properties,
Mm-hmm.
not just solar alone, but even EV chargers and, like I said, generators and all these home renewable products that I think will give homes value. It's already proven that just the EV charger alone already can give a home a $9,000 increase, and
Mm-hmm.
that's just with the EV charger. So, so I mean, you add solar and things on top of that. I mean, you can give your home probably 20, 30 plus $1,000, value. And so, homes is not what I talk about too often. So, and I don't know if they build the solar towers for homes and what that would look like, as far
Mm-hmm.
as what size does it take. If someone does, like yourself, say, have a tiny home, you know, but sometimes, if it's tiny homes, it's actually more than likely it's a property owner that has a line of tiny home communities, and
Mm-hmm.
that property owner can just have towers, all over the place, and that would help.
Maybe
And
this is a
so,
suggestion for
yes, and
your
so
CEO if they're
right,
listening. This is my thought,
right,
okay?
right. So that property owner could be the one to man their community, with solar, and not have to deal with electricity. So, we can look at all those types of things as well. But yeah, you're right. That's a major thing I could say is the space saving, from from our company,
It
and
just
that we're the
goes.
only ones doing it, and it's a thing to look into. Again, I can outsource you to the company if you're more curious. That would have more of the specs of why go with them.
Yeah. Yeah, and it goes back into what you were saying, like in the old times, right? And I think about the sunrise and sunset. And when the sun is most high, that's where I see the solar being a high rise because it's going to generate the most power versus on a flat. I mean, when you're sun rising, you only get a certain aspect of it. But when you are on a high, straight up high tower, you're going to get all aspect of it all all through until nighttime. And even then, you're still generating a little bit. So that's why I asked that, just because I think of high rise. I don't know why I always think of high rise and stuff. I
Uh-huh.
think of, reducing space and multiplying the most, utilizing the most in the most little space that you have, that you can make the best of it and expand growth wise. Because when we don't utilize everything that we have, every inch, every source of it, now we're wasting space. To me, it's all about wasting space when we can generate that for something else and continue to grow in that way. So
Yeah, and
pros and
again, for
cons of it.
marijuana growers,
Uh huh.
I don't want to say that you don't have to do anything and just make money and save money, but in a sense, with solar, you're able to do a lot less with
Mm-hmm.
land space. I just had a guy that told me, like what I said before. I don't have the hands and the boots on the ground to do crops and other things, and so I can only use my money to invest.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have the labor force, and and so he's like, I'll listen to you on solar because that sounds like a good investment. And that's the thing. I'm not saying, you probably still have to maintain your solar,
Mm-hmm.
but at the end of the day, if you're looking for an investment bang for your buck, where you don't have a lot of labor and have to hire people and things like that, solar is definitely, an option.
Yeah, especially with, Fresno having lots of agriculture here, the Central Valley, I think it would benefit. But then again, most of the farmers here, lấy những chia cho mua tính nâng tàu nè, là tiền là mua này tiền chi được cổ acres nè, là tiền chín toli cho commercial farmers, yeah, now that's going to be a little bit more challenging, and with again our weather here being so inconsistent, we never know what type of weather we're going to get. From being extremely hot this week, from last week it like cooled down, now it's back to being in the triple digit, and the next week it's going to cool down, so it's going to fluctuate. But again, solars, the pros and cons of it's going to weigh in a lot in how we go throughout, and especially with the next couple of years, where it's going to transform into. Now, what would the negatives be about solar? Do you have any negatives on solar?
Well, I mean, like I said, everything that I know is, seems like we're having answers for everything as we go, and it's an ever evolving industry, and
Mm-hmm.
I totally, I mean, I can't, I mean, everything has its flaws. I can't say there's nothing wrong with solar. It's obviously not, probably not perfect, but, and depending on your lifestyle, I have a friend who lives in Chicago, and she says, because I was trying to tell her a home energy saver. That's a different item that we do. And
Mm-hmm.
she goes, she just pays a monthly salary on her electric bill, no matter how much she uses or how little. She pays a set rate. So even if she can have a device that bounces energy and saves her money, it doesn't matter for her, right? So if you're in some kind of those conditions, I don't know what the result would be. But I just think it's a field with experts that are going to cover all these and resolve these problems as we go. I don't know what the downside of solar would really be for me. It's probably case by case, and a big thing I want to go to is the government incentives, right, and the bonuses and things that we get from programs, and so those could be the pros and cons on location where you live, right?
Okay.
Right, because some places, so um, let me see here. So it will decrease your 26% of your system installed to like 22%, like from now to 2035. So like the tax credits do expire, I think, in 2035. So we have about a good 12 years. And incentives are probably better now than they will be as this thing evolves. So that's how every societal shift is they're going to give you early incentives, and when everybody comes in, they're just going to, it's like a store, they're going to mark down prices, for like a week, and then those prices go right back up. If you
Mm-hmm.
want your new Jordans, you got to stand in line and get them for half off, right?
Yeah.
And then when the doors open, then they go back to full price. So you want to be the one camping out at the door and being the first one to get your hands on those new J's, yo. So, so it's kind of like the same thing, but there's a lot of different federal and state taxes, right? So federal taxes are probably concrete already as they are, but states, will vary state by state. I mean, some homeowners, can cut the bills up to like 95%, and there's some incentives that cover 100% of your electricity. So your cost is almost like zero down, right? And then like there's really like a 34% rise, I think, in residential solar power installations. Um, and electricity is definitely cost is going up too. I think in 2020 it was about like 3.99. As far as the average energy prices, and today's probably I think we're closer to like over like close to $5. Um, and so those I would know more about that part of it versus which panels are better than which, or which gives out more energy and things of that nature. Again, that I would have to hand off
Hand
to
off to someone else.
somebody
Yeah,
else. But just know
absolutely.
that the government is really really giving people a hand, and it's not just solar, everything renewable. If you're purchasing an electric car, an electric charging station, I mean, there's I know for EV chargers, you get $3,000 a month from the government, and a unit's only $5,000. So in 2 months, you're paying off that unit already just from
Mm-hmm.
government incentives. And
Yeah.
so, and not only that, you don't have to be an EV car owner. This is going to be another business that you and me can have a conversation about,
Yeah.
because we're looking for a team. I'm looking to build a team, the EV industry is a residual based income, because you can own these chargers, and you can make money off of them for the entirety of your life, because you're making money off every charge owned if you're the owner of the unit, and I can make you pretty much a free owner of any unit you want, but that's a whole different business. But again, I say that to talk about the incentives more than
Mm-hmm.
anything. Yeah.
I think the major cons right now is the affordability of it. That most
That yeah.
people is going to see that it costs this much. I don't have this much to fork up immediately, or it's going to take time. And usually, when anything, it's always about the financial aspect of it. So downfall would always be the financial aspect to anything, whether it's a car, or just grocery itself. It's
Just a phone.
financial that it's going to be the one one that's going to hold people back into deciding what is going to be best suited for them, their lifestyle, their situation, and how do they go about it. I mean, 5 years to 10 years, long term, short term, right? And it's going to go from there. So,
The
yeah.
big thing,
Uh-huh.
the the big thing is the capacity. And
Uh-huh.
what I mean by that is the bigger the project, the scarier it sounds. But we don't know how to minimalize and break down the bigger aspects into little parts, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when we think, oh my God, solar, that's a $3 million project. Well, yes, but when you lay down the government incentives, when you lay down, okay, you're getting lending for that, and then you lay down what you're saving, and you know what I mean. When you break everything down, like let's just say buying buying like a used car might might sound the same as buying a solar like a brand new solar panel because really at the end of the day you might only be paying 5,000 a month or something or 1,000 a month after you break everything down. So yes, $3 million, $1 million or whatever might sound huge, right? But you haven't explored your options. And so when you explore your options and you break all the numbers down, by the time you're done with the conversation, you might realize, oh wow, to get a solar is actually very minimal. It's so small, right? So, but we're scared to even take the step to get the answers first. That we let the amount was, oh my goodness, this gigantic project and this gigantic tower, like that's scary. So I think it's really on the person who are fearless and who are like, I don't care. I'm looking for a way to better my life, to better my situation, and I'm going to go find out. And so I think, I stay away from the fear mongers because those I just they're not compatible with me. And so I go find the ones that want answers. What do you want? How do you want it? Look, let's figure out a way that makes this work for you because every situation is going to be different. And so what's the bang for the buck versus, oh my God, what this thing is too big for me. Like nothing's too big. You can tackle anything if you go out and figure it out. So I think don't let like solar projects scare you. You know, um, like yeah, it's just like I said, buying a phone. You don't have the $1,200. They give you a monthly, or or you can exchange your phone for something else. Or they'll buy there's always a bargain. There's always a bargain, and there's always a way out. You know, and
Absolutely.
and you're in an industry that's government mandated. The government's going to help you. So you have to put it where you're not just going to Best Buy to buy a brand new big screen TV. Like like there's a lot of assistance in here. So we're and that's a big reason why I got into renewable because I understand it's for the people, it's helping the people, and I mean it's easy, it's more cut and dry than just selling people a product. This is a service that it's going to be needed. This is an entire societal shift. This is something we're moving into. This is, what I mean? And it's federal. And I have all the helpings and backings of the federal system to help me do this business with the support system. The UN is on this, so it's like, this, and like I said, I'm looking for a team as well. So if you're
Mm-hmm.
listening to this call and you want to build with me, not just solar, but all things renewable, I want to say I'm a musician, right? I grew up being a musician,
Mm-hmm.
and even from the '80s, I've seen music and I'm an actor, so I've seen music and film, right, go from cassette tape to CD, to DVD, to digital, to Netflix, to all of these kind of different things, and I didn't put my hand in any of this, right? Credit cards, ATMs, Zoom, Tesla, Uber, delivery has changed so drastically. And so I'm saying, name one industry that the Hmong people have actually been ahead of. Name one wave, economic or societal wave, that we've got our hands in our face in. And I look back. I'm not saying any individual. I'm sure some of us have took advantage of it individually.
Mm-hmm.
But how many, what as a community will we build together as a unit? We'll
Poto
name one
mo,
industry that
chito
we've been a
mo.
part of.
Mm-hmm.
I can't name that industry. I'm going to say zero, right? But
Mm-hmm.
here's the part: we have a whole societal shift, a whole industry now, where if I can start bringing people in, and there are other people in this business as well. I know a team of monks that have 50 recruits, right? As far as I know, there's still less than 100 people in this business,
Mm-hmm.
and so build with me. Let's move society in the direction that it's going to move in, and not wait till 10, 20 years later and just be bottom feeding as consumers and wondering why we didn't benefit off this market, and now we're just giving the market money. No, jump in now, get ahead of the curve. If you understand capital venture, think think from a venture capitalist mindset. So maybe some of you might need financial advice, and so maybe you need advisors in the financial literacy first before you can understand where I'm going. But if you're thinking from that position, every wave, every industry, every shift that starts. If you get in early, that's when that's when the possibilities of being a millionaire, being wealthy, and getting in early is where you benefit. And so I would advise that we take this pretty seriously because I want to see us in 10, 20 years look back and be like, hey, we were a part of that. We helped society move in a direction, and we didn't wait. And 40 years here in America, what have we? We've done a lot of great things,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm not talking about all the other accomplishments. We know what those are, from politicians to athletes and entertainment and all these different things. We've done a whole lot of incredible stuff, but I just mean us as a unit, as an entire society here in America. What industry have we say we've changed the face of? And I think we have this opportunity right now because it's still very ripe, fresh, and just starting to move. So I want us to do this, and I'm willing to be on the front lines for people to get our hands in this. And so come on over.
Yeah.
I'm looking, and I'll give you my contact at the end of this.
Well, Elvis, thank you for chiming in today because, like I said, solar is a hot topic that we talk about, but we don't talk about. And this is part of the hush hush, right? And I talk a lot about the hush hush. I call the hush hush topics where you don't discuss it enough. You know it's there, but you don't talk about it because there's too much that people become very sensitive of it. And I'm always open to talking about, the hush hush topic as well as advocating and growing and resource. Because if we don't have these conversations, open up these conversations, then how do we grow in all? How do we continue to see the difference? How are we going to evolve ourselves? Especially with the world that we need to adapt constantly. Every single day is adapting. And if we can't adapt to it and we can't see that change, then in the end, I call it self sabotage because
Yeah, we're
we
more
don't
afraid of
want
things we
to
don't
do.
understand
Mm-hmm.
than to say, hey, let's take the opportunity to understand it. And so walking away, being critical, we do this thing like you said, self sabotaging of we give things excuses so that
Mm-hmm.
it gives us an outlet to run away and to justify our running away. Instead of saying, hey, I'm not going to be that person anymore. I want in on everything that's being involved because I matter. I want to, I want to exist, and I want to, be present and, just be better for myself. And, running from everything really doesn't help. And so I think, we do have to ask the tough questions and get uncomfortable. And so, yeah.
Jim is on Facebook and he says, I have a question. Go for it. Jim, if you have any question, go ahead and type it in the comments and then I can ask that question. But in the meantime, Elvis, if you want to give your information, that way if anyone wants to connect with you, if they have any questions about solar that you can reference out to somebody else, go ahead and provide that information.
Yeah, so first my question is, are you taking calls or just comments?
Calls and comments. I don't have any calls coming in.
Oh, okay, cool. So we are taking calls. I'm pretty much done. So how much longer do we have?
We're pretty much done, but what are your contact information so people can connect
Okay,
with you?
okay. ElvisThao, last name is Thao. Apples and oranges. I like to say that one. So ElvisThao, Thao. Same thing on my Facebook, my Instagram. You can just look up that name. Phone number is 323-509-8500, 323-509-8500. My email is, again, my name with the numbers 10 at gmail.com. ElvisThao10 at gmail.com. My company is called Zen, YGE, Zen YGE. The solar company that we're in partnership with is called 360 Solar, 360 Solar. Yeah, that's pretty much all my information.
All right. Well, thank you, Elvis, for chiming in. And I look forward to having another hot topic conversation with you. And again, if
Oh,
you guys have,
we'll have plenty. Yeah.
we'll have plenty of conversations. And again, these are the hot topic, the hush hush that I continue to do, as well as continue to provide those resources and content for all of us to utilize. So, Elvis, I'm
I
going to
want to
put
add
us.
one. Can I add one last thing?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and we're not going to expand on this because time's over, and you can message me about this. But there is a such thing as floating solar as well. What is floating solar? You can build solar over rivers and lakes, and they will float above water, and you can get solar that way if you don't want it on land. Ooh, interesting. But okay, that's it.
Jim
Okay.
says, what are the federal incentives for EV stations and solar towers? Also, I am a Zengi brand partner trying to reel in builders subdivisions with.
Okay, so he's a partner of my company. Sounds good. Message
Uh,
me and we'll talk, buddy.
all right,
All
Jim,
right.
go ahead and message Elvis. I did tag him at the top of the page, so you can message him directly.
Oh,
Uh,
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. And I forgot about that. I'll text my message or I'll comment my info, excuse me, in the comment section as
all
well.
right, thank you again, Elvis. Have a good one.